Welcome back to Ben Salutes. And when I was a kid, video game systems weren't really expensive paperweights. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, YouTube.com is proud to present its video making champion of the world, the pop culture vigilante, Benthelooney, and his salute on the Attitude Era. And if you're not down with that, I've got two words for you. Schrock it! Finally, Benthelooney has come back to professional wrestling. That's right, today we're taking a break from cartoons, movies, music, and other assorted crap, and we're heading back to one of my lesser known interests, professional wrestling. Not that sports entertainment crap, I'm talking about real wrestling here. Yep, we're going way back. Back when people not only admitted to liking wrestling, they were proud of it. Back when competition wasn't a dirty word. Back when the only boos you heard were for the bad guys. Back when PG stood for puppies and grapefruits. Back when wrestlers were allowed to hurt each other. Back when you got beaten up for not liking wrestling. Back when the seats in the arenas were filled by people who could drink alcohol. That's right, we're going back to the era that turned wrestling from a butt end of a joke to a pop culture sensation, WWF's Attitude Era. For those of you unaware, unless you weren't growing up in the late 90s, how could you be unaware? Anyway, the Attitude Era was a period in WWF where the direction of the company took a more adult turn, and it focused more on entertaining in a more edgy manner. For this video, I'll be referring to the company as WWF, because that's what it was called back in the day. I don't rewrite history like they do. Anyway, it's debatable when the Attitude Era started and ended, but most people say it started at the Survivor Series on November 9th, 1997 with the controversial Montreal Screwjob, and ended at WrestleMania 17 on April 1st, 2001. This direction in WWF programming was taken due to WCW Nitro crippling WWF Monday Night Raw on Monday nights. WWF didn't want to go down without a fight, so the Attitude Era was created as a way to pack some ammunition that WWF needed to beat WCW, and it ended up working in the long run. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Constant people have gone on and on about how great the Attitude Era was. Yes, this is quite possibly one of the hardest videos I've had to make, because I've always wanted to talk about this era, but I could never find a unique way to praise it. Well, I think it's time for me to express what I loved about this era, and not just what made it so significant. For starters, I love it when companies break away from being kid-friendly by taking a more edgy and creative direction. You know how I feel about aiming more for an adult audience, so this era seemed tailor-made for adult wrestling fans who didn't want to be treated like they were little kids. Due to the more adult nature of the Attitude Era, Boy Scout Supermen were replaced by trash-talking anti-heroes, the wrestlers were more in-your-face when it came to their attitudes, and the programming got really mature with swearing, violence, sexual content, and satanic rituals courtesy of The Undertaker. Also, the company took a more creative approach by not just focusing on wrestling, but also finding great ways of entertaining people. This led to several storylines that kept you coming back to see how they were going to play out, and gimmicks that helped make each and every wrestler stand out from the rest. Even though I do watch wrestling shows mostly for wrestling, I like there to be a little entertainment, as I myself prefer entertainment value over athleticism. Another great thing about the Attitude Era was, although the edgy direction was mostly made to bring in casual viewers who wanted something extreme, it also appealed to a lot of wrestling fans who wanted to break away from the campy nature of WWF in the early 90s. Due to the amount of talent WWF had at the time, they tried to shove in as much wrestlers into 2 hours as possible to make sure that all the fans would get to see their favorite wrestler at least once a night. It got to the point where a WWF show would have at least 7 matches, which was good because that meant the matches were fast-paced and were straight to the point. They didn't drag on longer than they needed to. And don't you hate how nowadays when you're watching a wrestling show, most of the matches are interrupted by a commercial? Well, that wasn't a problem during the Attitude Era. You got to see every second of the matches from the start bell to the 3 count. You never felt like you were being cheated out of seeing what you wanted to see. So, with all these wrestlers, WWF had to create a new show, Heat, just to give those wrestlers something to do. And then, in August of 1999, WWF created SmackDown, which allowed WWF programming to be seen by wider audiences, and became a smash hit in the ratings. When it comes to wrestling, you need to do several things to keep viewers interested in the product, and that's what the Attitude Era excelled at. Another thing I loved about the Attitude Era was, of course, how much was going on in each episode of Raw and later SmackDown. Like I said earlier, each wrestler had either a gimmick, a storyline, or both, so a wrestler never felt like they were just there because they were under contract. This made the whole episode an exciting show from start to finish, because even after one segment was done, then you had another entertaining segment to keep you interested. In some cases, some segments were intertwined with other segments, creating more entertaining situations. This helped keep each episode going strong, and I never feel bored when I'm watching a Raw or SmackDown episode from the Attitude Era. I'm glued to my seat, and I keep watching until my eyes bleed. Yeah, another thing I loved about the Attitude Era is WWF wasn't afraid to take risks. They were in competition with WCW, so they had to do whatever they could to squash their enemy from Atlanta, Georgia. And this led to a lot of things that were so awesome that they became controversial. Of course, everybody knows about Sexual Chocolate's famous incident with Sammy the Tranny, and everybody knows about Val Venus losing half his manhood to Cayenne Tie. When you watched WWF back then, you didn't know what you were going to see, which made you keep watching anyway. This was the perfect definition of shock value, but there were other risks that ended up helping the product become the it thing to watch. For example, they would have pay-per-view quality matches on free TV. That's something that's unheard of these days. One example I could think of was they had a tag team buried alive match on SmackDown. To this day, that's not only the only tag team buried alive match, but it's also the only buried alive match to be held on SmackDown. They would also have championship belts change hands on TV shows. This was back when all the belts weren't paperweights, and the wrestlers would practically kill their opponents just to have a belt, no matter what belt it was. This era also introduced new belts, with my favorite being the Hardcore Championship. This was a belt that was always held in a hardcore match, which means that the action would go all over the arena, falls would count anywhere, and of course, any weapon was used. Any weapon. It got even more chaotic when Crash Holly introduced the 24/7 rule, meaning that the belt was up for grabs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All a wrestler had to do was have a referee with him, and he could pin the champion anywhere at any time. This led to some hilarious moments, like when Crash Holly was pinned while he was sleeping, and there was also a moment where he got assaulted at a laundromat by the Mean Street Posse. And finally, he got chased around a kids' fun center by the Headbangers. Gotta love the hardcore division. Now, despite everything that was great about the Attitude Era, it did suffer from one thing. Let's face it, folks. The wrestling sucked. Yes, I know there were good matches here and there, but when you get right down to it, wrestling really wasn't all that great. Now, this isn't anything new. In my opinion, WWE has never had a consistent, solid in-ring product, but it was still present in the Attitude Era, and it was kind of a bummer for a wrestling show to have bad wrestling. I guess this is due to the fact that this era was mostly focused on being entertaining, so it didn't focus much on the in-ring product. But, like I said earlier, the matches were fast and chaotic, so that made up for the fact that in terms of wrestling spectacle, they weren't nothing to write home about. I think this is also due to the fact that the wrestlers were being portrayed more as characters than they were as wrestlers. I mean, come on, did anyone really remember anything about The Godfather besides the Ho Train? And did Val Venus really have any moves? I can't remember. So, there's my salute on the Attitude Era. It wasn't great wrestling, just great television. I can't say I'm a little disappointed that I missed out on it, but I was happy to buy the Attitude Era DVD that WWE released last year, just to get a glimpse of what it was like. But, you know what? I don't think this DVD does the era justice. So, do you know what I do? I search on YouTube for episodes of Raw and SmackDown during this era, because there were so many great things about this era that nobody even talks about anymore that I have to see for myself to believe. Anyway, even though I love the Attitude Era, I still prefer WCW more because it had better talent that could deliver in the ring. You know what we need? We need a wrestling company that combines the entertainment value of the Attitude Era with the in-ring action of WCW. Alright. But that's a video for another day. Anyway, I'm Benthelooney, and I'm signing out. I'm going to go hitch a ride on the Ho Train! Toot toot!